Qur'an Chapter 45, Surah Al-Jathiyah, by Sayyid Qutb. Translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Hamim, the revelation of the book comes from God, the Almighty, the Wise. Verily, in the heavens and the earth are signs for those who believe, and in your own creation and in the creatures He has scattered throughout the earth are signs for people who are certain in faith, and in the alternation of night and day, in what God sends down from the skies as sustenance, giving life thereby to the earth after its death, and in the shifting of the winds are signs for people who use their reason. These are the signs of God, which we recite to you in truth. In what message, then, after God and His signs, will they believe? Woe to every sinful fabricator of lies who hears the signs of God recited to him, yet persists in arrogance as though he had not even heard them. So give him tidings of a painful punishment, and when he learns something from our signs, he takes them in mockery. For such people there is a humiliating torment. Behind them lies hell, and nothing of what they have earned will avail them, nor will any of those whom they have taken as protectors besides God. They shall have a mighty punishment. This is guidance. And those who disbelieve in the signs of their sustainer, they shall have a torment of grievous wrath. God it is who has subjected the sea to you, so that ships may sail upon it by His command, and that you may seek of His bounty, and that you may give thanks. And He has subjected to you all that is in the heavens and all that is in the earth. Everything is from Him. Verily, in that are signs for people who reflect. Say to those who believe that they should forgive those who do not hope for the days of God, so that He may recompense a people for what they used to earn. Whoever does righteousness does so for his own soul, and whoever commits evil, it is upon his own soul. Then to your sustainer will you all be returned. And indeed, we gave the children of Israel the book, and authority, and prophethood, and we provided them with good things, and we favored them above all the worlds. And we gave them clear proofs of the matter of faith. But they did not differ, except after knowledge had come to them, out of envy and rivalry among themselves. Indeed, your sustainer will judge between them on the day of resurrection concerning that over which they used to differ. Then we set you upon a clear way of the command, so follow it, and do not follow the whims of those who do not know. Verily, they can avail you nothing against God, and indeed the wrongdoers are allies to one another, while God is the protector of the God-conscious. This is a clear insight for mankind and a guidance and a mercy for people who are certain in faith. Or do those who commit evil deeds think that we will make them equal to those who believe and do righteous deeds, equal in their living and their dying? How ill is their judgment! God created the heavens and the earth in truth, so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they shall not be wronged. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as his God, and whom God has allowed to stray knowingly, and has sealed his hearing and his heart, and placed a veil over his sight? Who then can guide him after God? Will you not then take heed? Qur'an 45, 1-23. This Meccan surah presents a vivid portrayal of the way the polytheists received the Islamic call, their methods of countering its proofs and signs, and their obstinate rejection of its truths and principles. It reveals how they followed their whims with utter abandon, heedless of clear truth or compelling evidence. At the same time, it illustrates how the Qur'an sought to address their wayward and defiant hearts, closed off as they were to guidance, by confronting them with God's decisive signs profound in their impact and meaning. The Qur'an reminded them of God's punishment, depicted His rewards, affirmed His eternal laws, and made them aware of the immutable patterns He has established in existence. Through the surah's verses, which portray the people who opposed the call in Mecca, we see a group of individuals obstinately clinging to error, arrogantly rejecting the truth, filled with stubbornness and ill manners toward God and His word. These verses paint their portrait, addressing them with the reprimand, warning, and threats of God's humiliating, painful, and tremendous punishment that they deserve. Woe unto every sinful deceiver who hears God's verses recited to him, yet persists in arrogance as though he had not heard them. So announce to him a painful punishment. And when he learns of any of our signs, he takes them in mockery. For such there will be a humiliating torment. Beyond them lies hell, and what they have earned will avail them nothing, nor will the protectors they have taken besides God. And for them is a great torment. We also see a group of people, likely from among the people of the book, whose understanding and judgment are flawed. They assign no weight to the essence of pure faith, and fail to perceive the essential difference between themselves, steeped in wrongdoing, and the believers devoted to righteous deeds. The Quran makes them aware of the fundamental gulf that exists in God's balance between the two groups, condemns the corruption of their judgment, and highlights the principle of justice that underpins all existence from the very beginning of creation. Or do those who commit evil deeds think that we will make them equal to those who believe and do righteous deeds, equal in their life and death? How poorly they judge. For God created the heavens and the earth in truth, so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they will not be wronged. Furthermore, we see a group of people who recognize no authority except their own desires, for their desires have become their God. They obey whatever their whims dictate, oblivious to all else. This group is portrayed in an extraordinary manner in the following verse, which marvels at their condition and exposes their heedlessness and blindness. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as his God, and whom God has left to stray, knowingly sealing his hearing and his heart, and placing a veil over his sight? Who then can guide him after God? Will you not then reflect? This group also denies the reality of the hereafter, harboring profound doubts about resurrection and accountability. They stubbornly demand evidence for these truths, asking for proof that lies beyond the realm of this world. The Quran directs them instead to the self-evident signs that already exist, manifest and present, but which they turn away from. And they say, "There is nothing but our life in this world. We die and we live, and nothing destroys us except time." But they have no knowledge of this, they merely conjecture. And when our clear signs are recited to them, their only argument is to say, "Bring back our forefathers if you are truthful." Say, "It is God who gives you life, then causes you to die, then gathers you on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt," but most people do not know. It is possible that all these descriptions refer to one group of people, displaying different facets of their conduct and beliefs as the Quran addresses them in various contexts within the surah. Alternatively, they may represent distinct groups among those who opposed the call in Mecca, including some from among the people of the book, of whom there were only a few in Mecca. It is also possible that the Quran refers to this group as an example for the people of Mecca to reflect upon, without necessarily implying their actual presence in the city at the time. In any case, the Quran confronted these individuals with their characteristics and deeds, speaking of them in this surah in such terms. It also addressed them with God's signs in the world around them and within their own selves, warning them of the reckoning of the last day and helping them to see the fate of earlier peoples who had deviated from God's straight path. The Quran addressed them with these signs in a simple yet deeply impactful and profound manner. Indeed, in the heavens and the earth are signs for those who believe. And in your own creation, and in what he spreads of living creatures, are signs for people who are certain. And in the alternation of night and day, and in what God sends down from the sky of provision, giving life thereby to the earth after its death, and in the directing of the winds, are signs for those who reason. These are God's signs, which we recite to you in truth. So in what discourse, after God and his signs, will they believe? It also reminded them of God's blessings they neglected to remember and reflect upon. God is the one who has subjected the sea to you, so that ships may sail upon it by his command, and so that you may seek of his bounty, and so that you may give thanks. And he has subjected to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, all from him. Indeed, in that are signs for people who reflect. The surah also confronted them with their state on the day of resurrection, a day they deny or dispute, And on the day the hour is established, the wrongdoers will be in utter loss, and you will see every community kneeling, every community will be called to its record. This day you will be recompensed for what you used to do. This is our record, which speaks about you in truth. Indeed, we were recording all that you used to do. Then those who believed and did righteous deeds will be admitted by their sustainer into his mercy. That is the clear triumph. But as for those who disbelieved, were not my signs recited to you, and you were arrogant and became a people of criminals? And when it was said, indeed, the promise of God is true, and the hour there is no doubt about it, you said, we do not know what the hour is. We think it is nothing but conjecture, and we are not convinced. And the evils of what they had done will appear to them, and they will be overwhelmed by what they used to ridicule. And it will be said, today we will forget you, as you forgot the meeting of this day of yours, and your refuge is the fire, and you will have no helpers. This is because you took God's signs in mockery, and the life of this world deceived you. So today they will not be removed from it, nor will they be asked to appease their sustainer. The surah leaves no room for doubt or ambiguity regarding the justice of recompense and the individuality of responsibility. It makes clear that this principle is deeply rooted in the very fabric of existence and is a foundational truth upon which all creation rests. As it says, whoever does good, it is for his own soul, and whoever does evil, it is against it. Then to your sustainer you will be returned. And when it refutes the notion that those who commit evil deeds can ever be equal to those who believe and do righteous deeds, it declares, God created the heavens and the earth in truth, so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they will not be wronged. The surah is a cohesive whole in its treatment of its theme. However, we have divided it into 2 lessons to facilitate its presentation and detailed discussion. It begins with the disjointed letters Ha-Mim, and the reference to the Holy Qur'an is a revelation of the book from God, the Mighty, the Wise. It concludes with the praise of God and his absolute lordship, glorifying him and exalting him before those who are heedless of his signs, who mock them and turn away in arrogance. For to God belongs all praise, sustainer of the heavens and the earth, sustainer of all worlds. His is the majesty in the heavens and the earth, and he is the mighty, the wise. The flow of the surah unfolds its subject with ease, gentleness, and calm clarity, offering a precise and profound exposition, unlike the preceding Surah Al-Dukhan, which moves with a violent rhythm, as if it were hammers pounding on hearts. God, the creator of hearts and the revealer of this Quran, touches hearts sometimes with a loud call and sometimes with a gentle touch, according to their diversity and the varying conditions of their souls. He is the subtle, the all-aware, the mighty, the wise. Now let us delve into the details. Ha-Mim, a revelation of the book from God, the mighty, the wise. Indeed, in the heavens and the earth are signs for the believers, and in your creation and all the creatures that he spreads there are signs for a people who have certainty. And the alternation of night and day and what God has sent down from the heavens as sustenance, giving life to the earth after its death, and the dispersal of the winds, these are signs for a people who reflect. The 2 letters Ha-Mim are mentioned, followed by the revelation of the book from God, the mighty, the wise. In these letters lies a reference to the source of the book, as we have previously discussed regarding the disjointed letters at the beginnings of the surahs. This miraculous book is fashioned from such letters of which they cannot produce anything. This is a clear indication that the revelation of this book comes from God, the mighty, the all-powerful, who cannot be hindered by anything, the wise, who creates everything with purpose and directs all matters with wisdom. This follows the atmosphere of the surah and what it addresses regarding the conditions of the souls. Before addressing the people and their stance towards this book, it points to the signs of God spread throughout the universe around them. These alone were enough to guide them to faith. It directs their hearts to these signs, hoping that they may awaken and open their locks and ignite within them the sensitivity towards God, the revealer of this book and the creator of this magnificent universe. Indeed, in the heavens and the earth are signs for the believers. The signs scattered throughout the heavens and the earth are not limited to one thing or another, nor to one state or another, Wherever a person casts their gaze, they will find the signs of God manifesting in this wondrous universe. What is there that is not a sign? These heavens, with their massive bodies and their vast orbits despite their enormity, they are scattered like small grains in the vast, terrifying, beautiful expanse. The movement of these celestial bodies in their orbits is precise, consistent and harmonious, a beautiful harmony that never fails to satisfy the eye and fills the heart with wonder. And this vast earth, wide in comparison to humans, is but a speck when measured against the great stars. In comparison to this vast space, it is lost, if not for the power that holds it and organizes it in the cosmic necklace where nothing is lost. And what God has embedded in the nature of this earth, in its unique cosmic position, makes it suitable for the emergence of life upon it, with intricate characteristics that are deliberate, layered and harmonious. If even one of these characteristics were to falter or deviate, life could not exist or endure. Everything on this earth and every living being is a sign, and every part of everything and every being on this earth is a sign. The small and the minute are as much signs as the large and the grand. This small leaf on a huge tree or a frail plant is a sign, an indication in its shape and size, a sign in its colour and texture, a sign in its function and composition. This hair on the body of an animal or human is a sign in its properties, colour and size. This feather on a bird's wing is a sign in its material, arrangement and function. Wherever a person casts their gaze, whether in the earth or the sky, the signs crowd and layer upon one another, revealing themselves to their heart, ear and eye. But who perceives these signs and feels them? To whom do these signs reveal themselves? To whom? For the believers. Thus it is faith that opens the hearts to receive the echoes, lights and whispers, and to sense the signs of God spread throughout the earth and the heavens. Faith is what warms the hearts, allowing them to live, soften, and gently perceive what the universe holds of subtle and overt inspirations, all pointing to the craftsmanship of the Creator and its distinct imprint on everything it shapes and creates. All that emerges from this hand is miraculous, beyond the capacity of any of God's creation to replicate. Then the discourse shifts from the horizons of the universe to the essence of their own selves, which are closer to them and of which they are more sensitive. And in your creation and all the creatures that He spreads, there are signs for a people who have certainty. The creation of this human being, with its astonishing composition and unique characteristics, and its varied, delicate and numerous functions, is miraculous. Miraculous to the point that we often forget it due to its constant repetition and proximity. Yet the organic structure of just one of the human's limbs is something that induces awe and wonder at this extraordinary composition. Life in its simplest forms is a miracle, in the amoeba with its single cell and in what is smaller than the amoeba. So how wondrous is life in this extraordinarily complex human being? In its psychological composition, it is even more complex than in its physical structure. Surrounding it are all the creatures that move upon the earth, in types, species, forms and sizes which only God can count. The smallest among them, just like the largest, is miraculous in its creation, miraculous in its management, miraculous in its proportionality to life on this earth, ensuring that no species exceeds certain limits that would preserve its existence and propagation, preventing its dominance over others to the point of extermination. The hand that holds the reins of species and kinds increases and decreases them with wisdom and reckoning, bestowing upon each the characteristics, powers and functions necessary to maintain balance among them all. The eagle, a fierce predator, has a long lifespan, yet its offspring are few compared to the sparrows and starlings. We can imagine what would happen if eagles multiplied as sparrows do, how they would annihilate all the birds. The lions, too, in the animal kingdom are fierce predators. What if they reproduced like deer or sheep? They would leave no meat in the forest or sustenance for others. However, the hand that controls the reins limits their offspring to the necessary amount, while increasing the population of deer and sheep for a known reason. A single fly can lay hundreds of thousands of eggs in a single cycle. Yet it lives only for about 2 weeks. What if it were to escape control and live for months or years? Flies would cover the bodies and consume the eyes. But there is a managing hand that regulates matters according to a precise calculation, accounting for every need, state, and circumstance. Thus, in creation itself, in its characteristics, and in its management and reckoning within the world of humans and the world of animals, there are signs and clear indications. But for whom? Who sees them, contemplates them, and understands them? For those who have certainty. Certainty is the state that prepares hearts to feel, to be affected, and to turn back. Certainty that allows hearts to settle, remain steadfast, and find comfort, to receive the truths of the universe in tranquility, ease, and confidence, free from anxiety, confusion, and turmoil. From the smallest insights they derive the greatest truths and the most profound impacts in existence. And then, the Qur'an transitions from the inner selves of human beings and the movements of living creatures around them to the great cosmic phenomena and the life-giving forces they bring forth for all creation. And in the alternation of night and day, and in what God sends down from the skies of sustenance, giving life thereby to the earth after its death, and in the circulation of the winds, there are signs for people who use their reason. The alternation of night and day, two phenomena that, through unceasing repetition, may lose their wonder in the eyes of humankind. Yet what marvel confronts a human being who experiences nightfall for the first time or beholds the dawning of day? A sensitive heart, alive and receptive, perceives the miracle of these phenomena at all times, trembling in awe at the hand of God that governs the entire universe whenever it witnesses the night and the day. As human understanding grows and knowledge expands, people come to grasp certain aspects of these cosmic phenomena. They learn that the alternation of night and day results from the Earth's rotation on its axis as it faces the sun, completing a full cycle every 24 hours. But this knowledge does not diminish the wonder of it all, for the Earth's rotation itself is a miracle, this celestial body spinning on its axis with such precise regularity, suspended in the void, floating through space, anchored by nothing but the divine will that holds it and turns it as he pleases. This motion is governed by a system that never falters, by forces so finely calibrated that they enable life and all things to remain upon this spinning sphere that hurtles through the vastness of the cosmos. As human understanding deepens further, people recognize the significance of these two phenomena for life on Earth. They discover that the division of time between night and day, in the precise proportions observed on this planet, is a fundamental factor for the existence and continuity of life. Without this alternation, without this delicate balance, the entire order of the earth would change, most especially the human life that is the focus of this divine address. Thus, the significance of these two phenomena only grows in the human consciousness, it does not diminish. And in what God sends down from the skies of sustenance, giving life thereby to the earth after its death. This sustenance may specifically refer to the water sent down from the sky, as was understood by the ancients. But the sustenance of the heavens is far broader. The rays of light descending from the sky are no less vital to the earth's revival than water. Indeed, by God's decree, it is these rays of sunlight that generate water itself. The heat of the sun causes the seas to evaporate, leading to the condensation of water vapor and its return to the earth as rain. This rain fills the rivers, springs and streams, reviving the earth after its barrenness. Thus, the earth is revived through water, just as it is revived through warmth and light, both of which are indispensable. And in the circulation of the winds move north and south, east and west, sometimes straight and sometimes deflected, warm and cold, all according to the precise and deliberate design of this wondrous universe. Every movement of the winds is governed by an intricate system, calculated with utmost precision, leaving no room for blind chance. The circulation of the winds is intricately tied to the Earth's rotation, to the alternation of night and day, and to the sustenance that descends from the sky. All of these elements work together in perfect harmony to fulfill God's will in the creation and regulation of this universe according to his divine plan. And yet, these are but signs displayed throughout the cosmos. But for whom? for people who use their reason. Here, human reason is given its rightful place. It is invited to reflect, to contemplate, and to recognize the majesty of these signs. These are but some of God's cosmic signs, subtly yet powerfully alluded to for those who believe with certainty, and for those who use their reason to ponder. The Qur'an points to these cosmic phenomena with its divine verses, touching hearts, awakening minds, and speaking directly to the innate human nature that shares an intimate hidden connection with the universe. To awaken this connection requires no more than the inspired words of the Qur'an, words that resonate profoundly with the human soul. For whoever fails to believe in these signs will find no hope of faith in anything else. And whoever remains unmoved by these subtle, evocative signs will not be stirred by the loudest of cries or the most blatant of warnings. These are God's signs which we recite to thee in truth. In what discourse after God and his signs will they then believe? What utterance could ever compare to the word of God in the Qur'an? What creative act could ever rival God's creation of the universe? What truth could ever approach the absolute clarity, certainty, and permanence of God's truth? In what discourse after God and his signs will they then believe? At this point, it is fitting that those who refuse to believe should face only warnings of punishment and threats of retribution. Woe unto every sinful liar who hears the signs of God recited unto him, and yet persists in his arrogance, as though he had not heard them. So give him tidings of grievous suffering, and whenever he learns anything of our signs, he makes a mockery of them. For such as these, there awaits a humiliating punishment. Beyond them lies hell, and whatever they have earned will be of no avail to them, nor will the protectors they took besides God. They shall have a great punishment. These verses vividly depict, as we mentioned at the beginning of the surah, the attitude of the disbelievers in Mecca toward the divine call. They persisted in their falsehood, arrogantly refusing to listen to the plain truth. They dismissed this truth with obstinate denial, as though it had never even crossed their minds, and displayed utter disrespect toward God and his word. The Qur'an responds to their insolence with scorn, condemnation, and threats of severe and humiliating punishment. Woe unto every sinful liar! The term woe signifies ruin and destruction. The sinful liar is one who is steeped in falsehood, defiant in spreading lies. The threat encompasses all who fit this description, and it comes directly from God the Almighty, the irresistible, the overpowering, who has the power to destroy and annihilate, whose warnings are never false. It is therefore a threat that is terrifying, overwhelming, and awe-inspiring. This sinful liar's hallmark is his obstinate clinging to falsehood, his arrogance in rejecting the truth, and his refusal to humble himself before the signs of God. He shows no reverence for God, as is evident when he hears the signs of God recited unto him, and yet persists in his arrogance as though he had not heard them. This is a loathsome image, though it may depict a group of the polytheists in Mecca. It recurs in every age of Jahiliyyah, including the present and the future. How many people today, even among those who claim to be Muslims, hear the signs of God recited to them, yet persist in their arrogance as though they had not heard? This is because the signs do not align with their desires, nor do they conform to their customs or support their falsehood, wickedness, or inclinations. So give him tidings of grievous suffering. Here the use of the word tidings, which ordinarily conveys good news, is deeply ironic, intended to heighten the mockery and contempt directed at the sinner. If he refuses to heed warnings, then let him hear the good news of his imminent suffering. And whenever he learns anything of our signs, he makes a mockery of them. This occurs after he has understood and recognized the signs, making his mockery all the more deliberate and heinous. This too is an image that repeats itself, not only in the early days of Jahiliyyah, but also in modern times. How many people today, even among those outwardly associated with Islam, mock the signs of God they know, turning them into objects of ridicule along with those who believe in them and seek to align human life with their guidance? For such as these there awaits a humiliating punishment. What punishment could be more fitting than humiliation for those who mock the signs of God, with full knowledge of their truth? Beyond them lies hell. The phrase beyond them evokes both its inevitability and their heedlessness of it. Though they do not perceive it, it lies ahead, waiting for them. They cannot escape it, for they will inevitably fall into it, and nothing of what they have earned will avail them in the least, nor will those they have taken as protectors apart from God benefit them in any way. Thus, nothing of their deeds or possessions will help them in the slightest. Their deeds, even if they were seemingly good, are as dust without value or substance, for they are built on no foundation of faith. Their possessions are fleeting, and not a single part of them will accompany them into that realm where true benefit resides. And as for their protectors apart from God, whether they be idols, allies, armies, or friends, they hold no power to grant them aid or intercession, and for them is a mighty torment, a torment beyond mere pain, for it is also one of humiliation. Their crime mocking the signs of God is vile and despicable, demanding disgrace, while its enormity calls for a punishment proportionate to its gravity. Here ends this passage, wherein the mockery of God's signs, the turning away from them, and the arrogance with which they were rejected are described. It concludes with a reminder of the essence of these signs and the fate of those who deny their truth. In brief and emphatic terms, this is guidance. But as for those who disbelieve in the signs of their sustainer, for them is a chastisement of grievous wrath and pain. Indeed, the essence of this Qur'an is that it is pure guidance, untainted, unblemished, free from falsehood or error. It is guidance in its purest form, unclouded by delusion or misguidance. Hence, the one who chooses to disbelieve in these signs, despite their clarity and truth, deserves the pain of a torment that befits such a rejection, a torment that emphasizes both its severity and its anguish. For wrath signifies the utmost intensity of punishment, and the chastisement foretold is described as one of grievous pain. Repetition upon repetition, emphasis upon emphasis, befitting the magnitude of their denial of this pure and undeniable guidance. And after this terrifying warning, this awe-inspiring threat, the Quran gently touches their hearts with a reminder of God's blessings, those blessings which He has placed at mankind's disposal in this vast and wondrous universe. It is God who has made the sea subservient to you, so that ships may sail through it by His command, and so that you may seek of His bounty, and so that you may be grateful. And He has made subservient to you whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is in the earth, all of it from Him. Truly, in this are signs for people who reflect. This small creature man receives an abundance of nurture and care from God, the Sublime. He grants him the ability to harness and benefit from the mighty forces of the universe in manifold ways, enabling him to comprehend a fraction of the divine laws that govern existence. Were it not for this guidance to even a fragment of these laws, man, with his frail and limited strength, would have been incapable of benefiting from the immense forces of creation. Indeed, he would not even have been able to coexist with them, for he is a mere speck compared to the colossal powers, energies, and celestial bodies that surround him. The sea is one of these mighty creations that God has subjugated for humankind. He guided them to uncover some of its secrets and properties, allowing them to construct ships that traverse this vast and formidable expanse. These vessels float atop its towering waves, undaunted by its enormity and power, so that ships may sail through it by His command. For it is, He glorified be He who created the sea with its unique properties, and who created the materials of these ships with their specific attributes. It is He who designed the laws of atmospheric pressure, wind speed, gravity, and all the other cosmic principles that enable ships to sail upon the sea. And it is He who guided man to all this so that he might benefit from it, and benefit also from the sea in other ways, so that you may seek of His bounty, whether through fishing for sustenance and adornment, or through trade, exploration, or even recreation and leisure. All these are ways through which man seeks the bounty of God in the seas. God has subjugated the sea and the ships for humankind so that they might seek His bounty and turn to Him in gratitude for His grace and blessings, for His subjugation of creation and His guiding light, so that you may be grateful. Through this Quran, He directs the heart to fulfill this duty of gratitude, to connect itself with that higher realm, and to perceive the unity that binds man and the universe, unity in source and unity in direction. all pointing to God. From the specific mention of the sea, the Quran moves to encompass the totality of creation. For God has subjugated to humankind all that is in the heavens and all that is on the earth, forces, energies, blessings, and resources, all of which fall within the sphere of man's stewardship. And he has made subservient to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth, all of it from him. All things in existence originate from him and return to him. He alone is their creator, sustainer, and sovereign, and it is he who has either subjected them to man's will or granted them dominion over him. This small creature man has been endowed by God with the ability to comprehend a portion of the cosmic laws, enabling him to harness forces and energies far greater than his own. All of this is part of God's favor upon him, and in all of this are signs for those who ponder and reflect, who open their hearts and minds to the touch of the divine hand that fashioned and governs these forces and energies. Truly, in this are signs for people who reflect. But true reflection is not complete, nor is it profound or comprehensive, unless it moves beyond the mere forces and energies whose secrets are unveiled, to the source from which these forces and energies emanate. It is only through contemplation of the divine laws that govern them, and of the connection between these laws and the innate nature of man, that one can truly comprehend the unity of creation. This unity enables man to connect with these laws, to grasp them, and to benefit from them, without which he would remain disconnected, unable to comprehend, utilize, or draw benefit from these forces and energies. As the Surah reaches this powerful passage, one that links the heart of the believer to the heart of existence and fills him with the awareness of the true source of all power and guidance, it calls upon the believers to rise above, to transcend, to widen their horizons, and to expand their hearts when facing those who are weak and disconnected, whose hearts are barred from this rich and abundant source of truth. It also calls upon them to show compassion toward these unfortunate souls, deprived as they are of the luminous and mighty truths of existence, those who fail to perceive the days of God, in which his glory, mysteries, and divine laws are manifested. Tell those who believe to forgive those who do not look forward to the days of God, so that he may recompense a people for what they have earned. Whoever does what is good does so for his own soul, and whoever does evil, it is upon him alone. Then to your sustainer you shall all be returned. This is a noble directive to the believers, urging them to forgive those who do not look forward to the days of God. It is forgiveness, born of magnanimity and grace, of strength and loftiness, of dignity and elevation. For in truth, those who do not look forward to the days of God are pitiable souls, deserving at times of compassion for their deprivation of that overflowing fountain of grace, mercy, power, and abundance, the fountain of faith in God, of reliance upon him, of seeking refuge in his protection, and of turning to him in times of hardship and distress. They are also deprived of the true knowledge that connects to the very essence of the divine laws of existence and the forces that lie beyond them. Believers who are privileged to possess the treasure of faith and its bounties, and who bask in the mercy and abundance it provides, are far more deserving of showing forgiveness for the impulses and follies of those impoverished souls who are bereft of such blessings. On one hand, let the believers entrust all matters to God, leaving it to him alone to reward those who do good for their goodness and to punish those who do evil for their misdeeds. Let them leave space for forgiveness and pardon to be counted in their favor in the record of good deeds, so long as such forgiveness does not lead to corruption on earth or violate the boundaries and sanctities set by God, so that he may recompense people for what they have earned. And the Quran follows this with an emphasis on personal responsibility, the justice of recompense, and the certainty of returning to God in the end. Whoever does good does so for his own soul, and whoever does evil bears the burden thereof. Then to your sustainer you shall return. This opens the heart of the believer and elevates his sense of being. It enables him to endure individual harms and the foolish impulses of those blinded by Jahiliyyah without weakness or resentment, for he becomes greater, broader and stronger than such trifles. He carries the torch of guidance for those deprived of its light and the balm of healing for those who lack access to the source. He is rewarded for his deeds, and no wrongdoing by others diminishes his reward. In the end, all matters belong to God, and to him is the ultimate return. After this, the discourse turns to the concept of leadership for humanity, a leadership that ultimately culminates in the Islamic message. The Qur'an touches upon the disputes of the children of Israel concerning their scripture after God had granted them the book, wisdom and prophethood. It points to the transfer of leadership to the bearer of the final message, even as the prophet was still in Mecca, with his call under siege and persecution. Nonetheless, the essence of the message and its mission remain unchanged. And indeed, we gave the children of Israel the book, wisdom and prophethood, and provided them with good things, and favoured them above all other nations. And we gave them clear commandments concerning religion, yet they did not differ until after knowledge had come to them, out of mutual envy and rivalry. Surely your sustainer will judge between them on the day of resurrection regarding that wherein they used to differ. Then we set you on a clear path of our command. So follow it, and do not follow the desires of those who do not know. Verily they will not avail you in the least against God. Indeed, the wrongdoers are allies of one another, but God is the ally of those who are conscious of him. This Qur'an is enlightenment for mankind, and guidance and mercy for people who are certain in faith. Before Islam, the leadership of humanity had been entrusted to the children of Israel. They were the people chosen by God to carry the divine message during that period of history. For humankind must always have leadership that is rooted in divine guidance, for leadership left to the earth alone is governed by whim, jahiliyyah, or inadequacy, and God, the creator of humanity, is the only one who can legislate for them in a way that is free of desire, for they are all his servants, and free of jahiliyyah or deficiency, for he is their creator and knows his creation best. He is the most subtle, the all-aware. And indeed we gave the children of Israel the book, wisdom and prophethood. Thus among them was the Torah, the divine law of God. Among them were rulers entrusted with upholding that law. And among them was a line of prophets following the mission of Moses and his scripture, charged with safeguarding the law and the book. For a long period in history, prophets abounded among them, and divine guidance was continuously renewed. And we provided them with good things. Their kingdom and prophethood flourished in the blessed and fertile lands between the Nile and the Euphrates, lands abundant with good things. And we favoured them above all other nations. This favour was naturally relative to the people of their time. Its first manifestation was their selection for leadership under God's law, their receipt of the scripture, wisdom and prophethood. And we gave them clear commandments concerning religion. The divine law they were given was clear, decisive, and free of ambiguity, distortion, or deviation. There was no reason for them to differ over it as they did. Their disputes arose not from jahiliyyah of the truth or from confusion about what was right, yet they did not differ until after knowledge had come to them. Rather, their disputes stemmed from envy, rivalry, and injustice, despite their knowledge of the truth, out of mutual envy and rivalry among themselves. Because of this behaviour, their leadership on earth came to an end, and their role as God's vicegerents was revoked. Their fate now rests with God, who will judge them on the day of resurrection. Surely your sustainer will judge between them on the day of resurrection regarding that wherein they used to differ. Then God transferred the mantle of leadership to a new message and a new messenger. This message restored the clarity of divine law, the purity of heavenly guidance, and the leadership of divine justice. It was a leadership that governed by God's law, not by the whims of men. Then we set you on a clear path of our command, so follow it, and do not follow the desires of those who do not know. Thus the matter is made unequivocal. There is no third way, no middle ground between God's straight path and the ever-shifting desires of the ignorant. Those who abandon God's law inevitably fall under the sway of human whims, for everything apart from divine guidance is but a product of earthly desire. and do not follow the desires of those who do not know. God warns his messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, not to follow the whims of those who are devoid of knowledge. For their whims will avail him nothing against God. They can neither harm nor benefit him, for their strength lies only in their mutual alliances. Verily, they will not avail you in the least against God. Indeed, the wrongdoers are allies of one another, but God is the ally of those who are conscious of him. This verse, together with the one preceding it, sets the course for the bearer of the divine message. It leaves no room for ambiguity, no need for further elaboration or commentary. Then we set you on a clear path of our command, so follow it and do not follow the desires of those who do not know. Verily, they will not avail you in the least against God. Indeed, the wrongdoers are allies of one another, but God is the ally of those who are conscious of him. There is but one divine law worthy of being followed, and everything apart from it is mere caprice rooted in Jahiliyyah. The bearer of the divine message must adhere to this law alone, avoiding all whims and desires. He must never deviate from any part of the divine law toward any part of human desire, for the followers of these desires are too feeble to provide him with help or support. They are united only in their opposition to the divine law, bound together by their shared inclinations, but they are too weak to harm him, for God is the ally of the God-conscious. Indeed, the wrongdoers are allies of one another, but God is the ally of those who are conscious of him. What comparison can there be between God's alliance and theirs? What strength is there in the alliance of the ignorant and the unjust, compared to the support of the Almighty, the sustainer of all creation? Where are the weak, misguided, and feeble ones who cling to each other, compared to the one who walks under the protection of God, the ally of the God-conscious? And in response to this decisive and categorical statement, it speaks of certainty, and of what can be found in this statement and its likes in the Qur'an of insight, guidance, and mercy for those endowed with certainty. This is enlightenment for mankind, and guidance and mercy for people who are certain. The description of the Qur'an as enlightenment for mankind deepens the meaning of its guidance and illumination. It is, in its very essence, a source of piercing insight, just as insight reveals matters to its beholders. It is, in its essence, guidance, and it is, in its essence, mercy. But all of this hinges on certainty, on a trust that is untainted by doubt, unclouded by unease, and untouched by suspicion. When the heart attains certainty and is firmly assured, it knows its way. It does not falter, it does not stammer, and it does not stray. At that point, the path becomes clear before it, the horizon radiant, the goal well-defined, and the way straight. Then, and only then, does this Qur'an become for it a light, a guide, and a mercy through this certainty. Following the discussion of the alliance of the wrongdoers with one another and God's alliance with the God-conscious, and of the nature of this Qur'an in relation to the God-conscious, that it is enlightenment, guidance, and mercy, for those with certainty, the discourse then proceeds to draw a decisive distinction between the state of those who commit evil deeds and those who do righteous deeds while being believers. It is inconceivable, it declares, to equate them in judgment, for they are utterly different in the scales of God. Indeed, God has established the heavens and the earth upon the foundation of truth and justice, and truth is inherent in the very design of this universe. Or do those who commit evil deeds think that we shall treat them as we treat those who believe and do righteous deeds equal in their living and their dying? How ill do they judge! And God created the heavens and the earth in truth, so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and none shall be wronged. It is possible that this statement refers to the people of the book, who deviated from their scripture, committed evil deeds, and yet continued to regard themselves as among the ranks of the believers. They considered themselves equals to the Muslims who perform righteous deeds, imagining themselves to stand on par with them in God's estimation, whether in this life or after death, at the time of reckoning and recompense. Alternatively, it may be understood as a general statement aiming to clarify the worth of human beings in God's scales. the weight of believers who do righteous deeds, and the rejection of any equality between those who commit evil and those who do good, whether in this life or in the hereafter. Such an equation would contradict the fundamental, enduring principle upon which the entire fabric of existence is built, the principle of truth. This principle is manifest in the structure of the universe, just as it is manifest in God's law. It is the principle by which the universe is upheld, just as it is the principle by which human life is sustained. And it is the principle that is realized in the distinction between the wrongdoers and the doers of good in all circumstances, in the recompense of every soul for what it has earned, whether of guidance or misguidance, and in the establishment of justice for all people, so that none will be wronged. The concept of truth as intrinsic to the structure of the universe and its connection to God's law for humankind and his judgment of them on the day of reckoning is a theme that recurs throughout the Qur'an. It is a foundational truth of this faith, a truth to which all its diverse teachings are bound, a truth that manifests itself in the depths of human souls and the vastness of the horizons, in the natural order of the universe and in the divine law for humanity. It is the cornerstone of Islam's vision of the universe, life and man. Alongside this immutable principle, the Quran also points to the capriciousness of human whims that some people elevate to the status of a god, to which they render worship. This leads them into a misguidance from which there is no return, and God's protection is sought from such a fate. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as his God, and whom God has left to stray knowingly, and has sealed his hearing and his heart, and placed a veil over his sight? Who then can guide him after God? Will you not then take heed? Here the Quranic expression, with its unparalleled eloquence, paints an astonishing portrait of the human soul when it abandons the immutable principle of truth and follows the shifting winds of its whims. When it worships its own desires, submits to them, and makes them the source of its perceptions, judgments, emotions, and movements, it elevates these desires to the status of a tyrannical God ruling over it. It receives their changing signals with obedience, submission, and acceptance. The Quran draws this image and expresses amazement at it with severe reproach. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as his God? Have you seen him? He is a strange creature, worthy of being a spectacle that astonishes and amazes. He deserves to be left by God to go astray, for he has not left in his heart any room for divine guidance while enslaving himself to his diseased desires. And God leaves him to stray knowingly. Knowingly, either with God's knowledge of his deserving to be led astray, or with the individual's own knowledge of the truth, which he fails to uphold against his whims, and which does not prevent him from taking his whims as a God to obey. This necessitates God's leaving him to his misguidance and prolonging his blindness. And he has sealed his hearing and his heart, and placed a veil over his sight. Thus, the channels through which light might enter are blocked. The faculties by which guidance might reach him are closed off. His faculties of perception are rendered inoperative due to his worshipful submission to his whims, a submission akin to servitude and surrender. Who then can guide him after God? Guidance belongs to God alone. No one can grant guidance or misguidance to another. This is solely within God's domain, a domain in which even his chosen messengers have no share. Will you not then take heed? Whoever reflects, awakens, and takes heed will break free from the chains of whims, returning to the steadfast and clear path, one that never misleads those who tread it. And they say, "There is nothing but our life in this world. We die, and we live, and nothing destroys us but time." But they have no knowledge of this. They merely conjecture. And when our clear signs are recited to them, their only argument is to say, "Bring forth our forefathers, if what you say is true." Say, "It is God who gives you life and then causes you to die, and then he will gather you together on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt." Yet most people do not know. To God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. And on the day when the hour comes, it is then that those who follow falsehood will be the losers. And you will see every nation kneeling. Every nation will be summoned to its record. This day you will be repaid for all that you used to do. This is our book, which speaks of you in truth, for verily we were recording all that you used to do. Then, As for those who believed and did righteous deeds, their sustainer will admit them into his mercy. That is the ultimate triumph. But as for those who disbelieved, it will be said to them, "Were not my signs recited to you? Yet you grew arrogant, and you were a people of evildoers." And when it was said, "Verily the promise of God is true, and there is no doubt about the coming of the hour," you said, "We do not know what the hour is. We think it is nothing but conjecture, and we are not certain." And so the evils of what they did will appear before them, and they will be overwhelmed by that which they used to ridicule. It will be said, "This day we forget you as you forgot the meeting of this day of yours, and your abode is the fire, and for you there will be no helpers. This is because you took God's signs in mockery and were deceived by the life of this world. So this day they will not be removed from it, nor will they be allowed to make amends." So all praise belongs to God, the sustainer of the heavens and the sustainer of the earth, the sustainer of all worlds. And to him belongs all greatness in the heavens and the earth, for he alone is the Almighty, the All-Wise. This final passage of the chapter presents the disbelievers' claim regarding the hereafter, resurrection and accountability, and it counters their argument with a response rooted in their very existence, something undeniable, something intimately close to them. It then paints a vivid scene from the day of resurrection, a scene so alive, so immediate, that it seems to unfold before their very eyes, though its appointed time has not yet come. Through the Quranic imagery, they are made to see it, as though it is happening before them, as though they can perceive it with their own sight. The chapter then concludes with praise to God, the one in whose hands lie the lordship and dominion of the heavens and the earth, as well as of all that exists within them. His greatness, his majesty, and his glory stand alone, unmatched and unassailable, before which no head may be raised, no arrogance may dare to soar. For he alone is the Almighty, the All-Wise. And they say, "There is nothing but our life in this world. We die and we live, and nothing destroys us but time." But they have no knowledge of this. They merely conjecture. Such is the narrow vision with which they regard life. To them, life is nothing more than this fleeting span that they can see with their own eyes. One generation dies, another takes its place, and so it goes. In their superficial view, it seems that death comes to them unbidden by no hand but that of time itself. Days pass, the years unfold, and then death overtakes them. In their shallow understanding, it is time alone that brings about their demise, that robs their bodies of life and casts them into the grave. This is a shallow perspective that does not look beyond appearances, that does not probe the mysteries lying hidden beneath the surface. For how did life come to them in the first place? And if life came to them, who is it that takes it away? Death does not strike according to a fixed pattern or a predetermined number of days, such that they might believe it is merely the passing of time that extinguishes life. After all, children die as well as the elderly, the healthy die as well as the sick, the strong die as well as the weak. Time, therefore, cannot serve as an explanation for death, not for anyone who looks deeper, who seeks to understand and uncover the true causes. And thus God speaks of them with truth. They have no knowledge of this, they merely conjecture. They hold to vague and feeble assumptions that are neither rooted in reflection nor supported by knowledge, nor do they lead to any understanding of the realities of existence. They fail to look beyond the apparent phenomena of life and death, to the profound mysteries that testify to a will greater than man's, to a cause far beyond the mere passage of time. And when our clear signs are recited to them, their only argument is to say, "Bring forth our forefathers if what you say is true." This argument too reflects the same shallow perception. It is a perspective that fails to grasp the laws of creation, the wisdom of God embedded within them, and the hidden purpose behind life and death. For human beings are brought into existence upon this earth to be given their chance to be tested by God in what He has granted them. Then they die, and their time of reckoning waits for the appointed hour that God has decreed, a time when they will be held accountable for their deeds, and the results of their test upon this earth will be made manifest. Thus, they do not return to life once they have died. There is no wisdom in bringing them back before the appointed day, and they will not return merely because some among humanity suggest it. The great laws upon which the existence of this universe is founded will not change to accommodate human whims and proposals. Therefore, there is no place for their simplistic suggestion. Bring forth our forefathers if what you say is true. Why should God bring back their forefathers before the time he has decreed, according to his supreme wisdom? Is it so that they might be convinced of God's power to resurrect the dead? How strange! Does God not create life before their very eyes, bringing it into being at every moment, in accordance with the eternal laws of creation? Say, it is God who gives you life and then causes you to die, and then he will gather you together on the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt. This is the miracle they demand to see in their forefathers, and yet it is already happening before their very eyes. This very thing, this process of life and death, is unfolding before them in all its reality. It is God who gives life, it is God who causes death. And thus there is no wonder in the fact that he will bring the dead back to life and gather them on the day of resurrection. Nor is there any cause for doubt in this matter, for they witness its likeness in the life before them. Yet most people do not know. This truth, so evident, is followed by the fundamental principle upon which it rests. To God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. For he is the one who holds sway over all that exists. He is the creator of all things. He is the one with the power to bring forth and to bring back over all things, over all beings. Then the scene shifts to the day of resurrection, that day which they doubt, and they are shown a glimpse of its unfolding. And on the day when the hour comes, it is then that those who follow falsehood will be the losers, and you will see every nation kneeling, every nation will be summoned to its record. This day you will be repaid for all that you used to do. This is our book, which speaks of you in truth. Verily, we were recording all that you used to do. In this first verse, the destiny of the followers of falsehood is made clear. They will be the losers on that day. Then, through the Quranic depiction, we are transported to the overwhelming scene of the great assembly, where all the generations that have inhabited this earth across its long yet brief span will be gathered. They will kneel, nation by nation, summoned to account for their deeds. It is an awe-inspiring scene, terrifying in its sheer enormity as countless generations converge upon one plane, terrifying in its solemnity as all are brought low, kneeling in submission, terrifying in anticipation of the reckoning that looms before them, and most of all, terrifying in the awareness of standing before the Almighty, before whom no arrogance can stand, before whom all hearts tremble, before whom all shall be judged. Then it will be said to the kneeling masses, their gaze fixed in desperate anticipation, their breaths shallow and choked, "Today you will be requited for all that you used to do. This is our book, which speaks against you with truth. Verily, we used to record all that you were doing." And they will come to realize that nothing is forgotten. Nothing is lost. How could it be? When everything is written in a book, and God's knowledge escapes nothing, nor does anything elude his grasp. Then the multitudes gathered from all nations and generations will be split into two groups. Two groups alone will encompass all those gathered, those who believed and those who disbelieved, for these are the only banners that matter before God. These are the only parties, the party of God and the party of Satan. All other sects, creeds, races and nations will ultimately be subsumed within these two. As for those who believed and did righteous deeds, their sustainer will admit them into his mercy. This is the ultimate triumph, the manifest success. And so they rest at last from their long waiting, their anxiety and their distress. The text deals with their fate swiftly and simply, casting upon it the serene shade of tranquility. Then we cast our eyes through the words upon the other group, and what do we find? It is a scene of prolonged rebuke, shameful exposure, and a stark reminder of the vileness of their words and deeds. "But as for those who disbelieved, were not my signs recited to you, and yet you turned away in arrogance and were a people steeped in sin? And whenever it was said to you, "The promise of God is true, and the hour is beyond all doubt," you would reply, "We do not know what the hour is, we only think it may be so, but we are not convinced." So now, how do you perceive your state? How do you taste certainty now? The narrative pauses for a moment, leaving them to ponder their plight, before proclaiming to all what has befallen these wretched souls. And the evils of their deeds became manifest to them, and that which they used to mock has surrounded them. Then the text returns to them, with further denunciation and reproach, announcing their neglect, their insignificance, and their dreadful end. And it will be said, "This day we shall forget you, just as you forgot the coming of this day of yours. Your abode is the fire, and you shall have no helpers. That is because you took God's signs in mockery, and the life of this world deceived you." Then the curtain falls upon them, announcing their final fate. They are left forsaken in hell with no escape, and no hope for apology or reprieve. So this day they shall not be brought forth from it, nor will they be given a chance to make amends. It is as if we can hear, in the rhythm of these words, the screeching of doors being shut locked with finality. The scene has ended, and there will be no change or alteration to what has been decreed. At this moment the voice of praise and glorification rises, soaring in the final cadence of the chapter, following this profoundly moving scene. And so all praise belongs to God, the sustainer of the heavens and the sustainer of the earth, the sustainer of all the worlds. And to him belongs all greatness in the heavens and the earth, and he alone is almighty, wise. The voice of praise resounds, proclaiming the unity of sustainership in this vast existence, in its heavens and its earth, in its humans and its jinn, in its birds and its beasts, and in all that is within it and all who dwell upon it. All are under the care of one sustainer who nourishes and governs them. To him belongs all praise for his care and governance. And the voice of glorification rises, proclaiming God's absolute majesty within this vast existence. Here every great power diminishes, every tyrant bows low, and every rebellious soul submits to the absolute majesty that pervades all existence. And with this majesty and sustainership comes might and wisdom, capable and all-encompassing. He alone is almighty, wise, and all praise belongs to God, the sustainer of all the worlds.